All right. So just first off, how are things going?
Yep, that's a funny question. Not the one I expected. It's been an incredible year. It's tough on everyone. There are big decisions that we've got to make here, but feel incredibly grateful to be in this spot at this moment when the city needs so much.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. All right. Now we'll get.
Okay.
Okay. Um, you mentioned we as a country and state can do better when it comes to unemployment benefits and the help for businesses. What else do you think needs to be done?
Sure. Well, so many of our residents waited for far too long to get the benefits that they deserved, that they'd earned. And that has had serious impact economically on Boiseans. And the state has addressed that, but we recognize that still that has impacts today as people are trying to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And small businesses are hurting. They had to shut down. They took the brunt of that impact by shutting down. And when I say they, it's the people behind those small businesses. They're the lifeblood of Boise's economy. And that's why we announced that some of the CARES funding that we had as a city that we would put towards business grants to support our businesses, because we want to do everything we can to stand by their side through this tough time.
Very nice. And do you know how many businesses are kind of in a tight spot downtown right now, or in
Well,
the
and
area?
I'd say we're thinking about the city as a whole.
Yeah.
Small businesses around this community are struggling, and there are many that hire our residents, serve our residents, provide services that we need, and most, if not all, have had an impact of some sort due to the pandemic.
All right. What are your plans for dealing with homelessness in the winter? How are you going to house them, and what sort of COVID-19 resources will you provide?
Sure. So this last year, in particular during the winter, we came up with COVID contingency plans in partnership with so many organizations dedicated to serving those experiencing homelessness in our community, and we'll do the same. But I'm particularly proud of the fact that we helped invest in hotel rooms so that those who were most medically fragile and families could have a place to go to stay safe. And then that created other space at the shelters for those that needed it. So we'll continue to do that as necessary. Right now we're providing a cooling room at the library for those experiencing homelessness, and we're building out plans for how we address the cold days for them moving forward. And we have done what we needed to do to invest in street teams, outreach teams that connect with those experiencing homelessness with the services they need. And we've launched a program to provide services to and determine what best we can do in partnership with others to those who are also living in their cars because of these tough times. So we're looking at all of that systematically and recognizing too that as winter approaches, there will be more demand.
Yeah, it'll be a bit of a tough time with winter and COVID, which is like a perfect storm almost.
Yeah.
Seems like. Hold on, let me just here. So, let's see. This what is the city doing to help lower income people and middle class individuals buy homes as the median price goes way up?
Sure. So we're addressing affordable housing. It's our priority with a multiple pronged approach. First off, as I said, in the state of the city, we have launched the Housing Land Trust, and we are acquiring land that then as a city we can contribute towards neighborhood developments that provide homes at various price points to meet the budgets of Boiseans, because we've got to have homes that we can afford as we work in this city. So we're doing that. We will have this fall and winter an affordable housing ordinance for the public and home builders to weigh in on, because we want to make sure that we're providing incentives that will encourage people to build homes that are more affordable for Boiseans. Of course, looking at the zoning rewrite that's important, and then determining what else we can do with the zoning rewrite to ensure that there are enough homes being built in our community for those that need them.
Yeah. Have you heard of it's Scott over at, is it IndieDwell? I don't know. There's some individuals that are doing this really interesting thing with building houses out of old recycled shipping
Yeah.
containers?
IndieDwell is
Yeah,
a great local
yeah.
company. They're developing affordable housing neighborhoods throughout this country. And they're a key partner as we move forward to determine what we can do here. Someone said to me once that the best thing a city can do is create the space for innovators to come up with the solutions, and I believe we have them here, and IndieDwell is a perfect example.
Very nice. All right. So this is kind of back to the housing prices. So we just reported that the average price of a home in Ada County is at an all-time high of $400,000.
Yeah.
Why can't the council do things like encourage incentive developers to sell condos, apartments, quadplexes instead of renting them out?
Sure. So we are developing incentives to encourage developers to build rental units, ownership units that can be sold at affordable prices. There are areas where our hands are tied because of state law,
Yeah.
and we need partnership with the state to fund a housing land trust. And so we're looking instead at what we can do and how we might do it differently to meet this need.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the options that you're kind of exploring?
Sure. Those are the ones that I referenced in the last question. So an affordable housing ordinance that would incent development of housing at set prices to meet Boise budgets. Our housing land trust that provides land as a part of the incentive package to encourage developers to build. We have funded an eviction prevention fund through through Jesse Tree, to help ensure that those that might be evicted can be represented, because the most effective thing we can do is keep people in their homes if they already have them. And we're working with Interfaith Sanctuary to protect those that are unhoused, and then looking at how we build out our portfolio of permanent supportive housing.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. All right. You discussed climate and the goal for businesses to become carbon neutral. How will the city help businesses achieve these climate goals, especially those businesses that have been economically impacted by the pandemic?
Sure, my goal is to create a goal for city government to be carbon neutral. Because if we need to do it ourselves so that we can learn from that, and then look with an eye towards how we do that as a city. So our focus will be working with council and our climate action division here to take the steps we need to be carbon neutral as a city government, because when we address our fleet costs, when we address energy efficiency in our buildings, when we look at how we have cheaper, more plentiful power, clean energy, then we're going to be able to pass those savings on to our residents.
Where do you think is the place that you're going to save the most, or become more carbon neutral, so to speak? What's the area that you can really
So
kind of go?
we set the goal in the state of the city, and we'll work with council to make the plan that gets us there. And so from a clean energy perspective, to be 100% clean energy by 2035, that's a goal I advanced as a council member, and now as mayor will really push us to beat that, because it's in the best interest of our residents and their pocketbooks to do so. You look at energy efficiency, at how we can build out clean energy, whether it be at city facilities or in partnership with Idaho Power. We want to make sure that those that benefit, that often take the brunt of climate impacts, would actually are sure to benefit from energy efficiency programs and other things like that.
What are some of those businesses that you have maybe identified that are actually being impacted by the climate change?
So our residents have, in the long run, as climate impacts the cost of power, the cost of water, et cetera, every month we'll be paying the costs of not taking steps early, and that's why we're taking them now.
So you're
And
kind of paying it forward almost, or
making investments
yeah.
to ensure that our economy is poised to benefit from those innovations that'll be required to transition to clean energy, partnering with Idaho Power that has a similar goal, and doing all that we can so that we're not catching up, but instead we're ahead, so that from an economic opportunity perspective, our residents have opportunity in the long run here.
Very nice. All right. So you made a commitment to address the challenges of systemic racism in Boise, Idaho. What are your plans in the next year to address that in
Sure.
the city?
So we've launched here internally as an employer. We've done what many employers around the city are doing, and that is looking at the environment we create here to ensure that we welcome everyone. We will do the same when it comes to looking at policing policies and working with the public on changes they'd like to see in conjunction with the police department and the city council that's committed to doing that. And being willing always to listen to the concerns that our residents have, and then see how, from a leadership perspective, we as a city first can do it, and then work in partnership with others to do the same.
And so what have kind of been some of the things that you've been hearing from the community that they would like to see change?
So you've probably seen the police department has done several presentations that includes policy changes with regard to use of force. We are looking at open data so that the public can understand what's happening from a policing perspective. We've been asked to look at our own employment policies and the environment in which we create here internally as City Hall as employers to ensure that everyone feels welcome when they take a job here. We hear often from our employees that that's incredibly important to them, is that we start to take these steps to look internally and then to share with the community what we've learned from that experience.
Very nice. All right, so kind of just to wrap up this section, what is your hope for the future of the city? What do you envision? Where do you envision us going? Kind of what is your feeling as we move into the latter part of 2020 and moving into 2021?
I think everybody probably wants to move into 2021, right?
Yeah.
I work daily with an incredible team here, with a great group of leaders on the city council to ensure that the policy steps that we take, the economic programs that we develop in partnership with others, are focused on ensuring that we have a community that welcomes everyone. And in a city for everyone, we have opportunity for our kids and grandkids that we had when we were young. And we have tackled some of the deep, deep needs around affordable housing. And always at the same time doing everything we can to protect what each of us loves about Boise, this special, special place, and most importantly, the people that choose to call this home.